I'm Caroline from the customer marketing team here with our resident doc guy, Matt Sumner. He leads our Pro Concierge Doc Sample Program, and Jeff Bake, the product marketing manager on Thunderbolt at Intel.
Hello.
Yes. So really the goal of this, right, is to talk about the differences and the confusion between USB-C and Thunderbolt 3. We want to learn how to understand the growing trends and adoption by different verticals in the workforce and how to recommend the best dock for each customer's unique environment. So first off, let's start off with the basics, right? So Jeff, let's talk about what Thunderbolt technology is and what Thunderbolt 3 is and the differences between those.
Okay, sure, thank you. So basically, going back to 2011 when we launched Thunderbolt, Thunderbolt was the ability to take several different protocols or technologies and put them on the same cable and the same connector so that when you had a device, you could plug it into one connector and it would support multiple devices. So Thunderbolt is data and display, data in the form of PCIe, PCI Express, and display in the form of DisplayPort. So that's what Thunderbolt was. Then we doubled the bandwidth, went to Thunderbolt 2, and then with the inception of the USB-C connector, our Thunderbolt team was working on a new connector. We knew that we wanted to include power onto that connector. We wanted to be able to last for several years out in the industry. So we needed to get faster and support more protocols. And so with the USB-C connector, we decided that we would also use the same connector, and the Thunderbolt spec is actually written into the USB-C spec as a guest or an alternate protocol within that spec. So with Thunderbolt 3, we use the USB-C connector, we double the bandwidth again, so we're at 40 gigabits per second total bandwidth. We support DisplayPort 1.4, and now we have power coming into the PC to charge, and then also power going out of the connector, what we call bus power, which we power up bus-powered devices. That's why we say Thunderbolt is the best USB-C, or the USB-C that does it all. Is we are the same USB-C connector, but we do much more than just USB.
Anything to add, Matt?
Yeah,
cover all the bases.
Jeff did a great job, of course. No, Thunderbolt 3 is it's amazing. It's the fastest USB-C spec that's available to date. Pushing data at 40 gigabits per second. I mean, it's blazing fast compared to the standard USB 3.0 specification. You're looking at 8 times the speed of that USB-A specification. So you think about it, you're downloading a 4K movie in 30 seconds. So super fast, and really what that translates to is productivity. When we look at users that have devices that are on the Thunderbolt platform, being able to move that type of data, it can be critical and really enhance performance of those users. So it's awesome technology to see that's being implemented, and it's growing by leaps and bounds.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've seen Thunderbolt from the laptops that I've had and have currently, but my last PC was a Dell Precision, right? It had Thunderbolt on it, and then my current laptop is a MacBook Pro, which has Thunderbolt on it. So I'm more familiar with Thunderbolt on devices, like PC devices. I know it's on other devices as well, or other technology pieces. Like where is the demand for this technology coming from?
Yeah, I think from two sides. From the PC side, the demand is I want a connector that's going to support anything that I plug into that, and that's what Thunderbolt will do. It also allows me to do a thinner and lighter PC that I don't have to have several connectors on the side of my PC. Some of those are very big, which actually limits the height of the actual PC. So if I have a Thunderbolt connector, which supports anything, again, the USB-C that does it all, whatever peripheral device you plug in, it's going to work. I can put 1 or 2 Thunderbolt ports. I don't need all those other ports. I can shrink the height of my PC now and still be able to support everything. From the device side, now I can come up with one connector, one cable on the device, whether it's a tethered cable or it's a bigger device that you plug a cable in. have that Thunderbolt connector and know that whatever I make, it's going to work if I plug it into a PC that has Thunderbolt on it. So the need is really on both sides of the cable, the PC and the device. And anything that uses fast data, that wants to have, like a Kensington dock. I mean, you've got several different connectors on that dock, all working, all lighting up by just plugging that one cable into the PC. And now you've got a dock with all of the functionality and flexibility that you want that's going to work no matter what PC you use.
And from a vertical standpoint, we're really seeing demand just across the board, across all different markets. Whether it's education or finance or healthcare, the adoption of Thunderbolt 3 has really grown by leaps and bounds. I've worked with educational customers that have invested in technologies such as MacBook Pros, and they know that in order to get the best life or the longest life out of their hardware investment, they need the accessories to support it. So they're looking at Thunderbolt 3 technology, such as Thunderbolt 3 docking stations, to ensure that they're getting the best performance out of that hardware, and it's going to last for them. On the financial side, same thing. They're making those same investments for different reasons, of course, compared to education. But really one of the biggest categories I've seen is with the music industry, with film, with photographers. Again, the data transfer speeds are blazing fast. So you're moving that large content from your device into your external hard drive, et cetera. So having that type of throughput is really important to that performance aspect. So just across the board, the Thunderbolt 3 really is one of those technologies that just doesn't know one particular industry. It's being deployed everywhere.
Yeah, and I know from the NP data that we have, it says that USB-C and Thunderbolt 3 docks make up 58% of the market and has grown year over year by 120%. So how big exactly is Thunderbolt 3 and docking stations? Do we see them being dominant now in the future, and especially with the introduction with USB 4? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, we definitely see that USB-C docks, Thunderbolt docks are the way to go. If you have a mechanical dock, you have to have the exact mechanical dock that fits the mechanics on your PC. And so if you go to another office, you're traveling, if you're a flexible workforce, you've got to have that same mechanical dock, or you can't dock. And so I think IT, as we interview top Fortune 500 companies, they're seeing their IT shops that it's very cumbersome, it's very expensive, and it's very limiting to have a mechanical dock. A USB-C Thunderbolt single cable dock that is flexible, that's going to work across the different brands, is really the best solution. And what you're seeing on the slide is really, USB-C is very flexible. It's also very confusing. The USB-C spec is wide open, meaning that the only thing that you have to do in the USB spec is you have to support USB 2.0. Everything else is optional. Power, charging is optional, whether you support USB 3, USB 3.1, now the new standard USB 4. Again, they're all options. With Thunderbolt, we're saying Thunderbolt is this. Thunderbolt is the superset. We're going to support all of the technologies, all of the features. We're not going to have optional features where, if you have a Dell, it might support this. If you have an HP, it might support this. So again, having flexibility is great, which is what the USB-C spec does. But what Thunderbolt does is say, we're going to give a consistent user experience, and it's going to be across brands. And if you have a Thunderbolt connector on your device, and you have a Thunderbolt connector on your PC, and you plug those together, it's going to work.
If we think about the technology that we're seeing and being built into laptops these days, we work differently than how we used to, even just as recent as 5 years ago. The workforce is a more mobile society. We're heading out to WeWork offices. We are visiting clients. We're working from home. We're working from our local coffee shop. So we don't work the way that we used to. We have different spaces and different places that we work for our day, or we manage our day from. So in relation to that, laptops are becoming thinner and lighter to support that more mobile workforce. When you look at the changes in laptop technology, the mechanical ports are being eliminated from the bottom of the device because it takes up space. The ports that we used to see on the sides of laptops and on the backs of laptops that would increase that thickness, they're virtually non-existent. And the reason is because that space savings is a trade-off for battery power. You can put in a larger battery to that laptop that is going to give you a longer time span from having to be connected and physically plugged into something. So when you have that greater battery capacity, you're able to be more mobile. But in that same breath, we still need to be productive. We still need access into peripherals, larger format monitors, full-size keyboards, mice, having a place to plug in a variety of different things, printers, thumb drives, you name it. There will always be a need and always be a demand for that. But when we're mobile, we want to truly be mobile. And I think that from the manufacturer standpoints of laptops, they realize that, they witness that, which is causing that change. But that's where we move into a Thunderbolt 3 docking station. Having that single cable connection is really crucial to providing that gateway into those peripherals. One cable does it all. It provides connectivity into your monitors, allows you to connect your mouse, your keyboard, your external drive. It also powers your laptop. Power delivery over USB-C is beautiful because, again, it's down to that one cable, that single cable that needs to be connected to your laptop that will just simply do everything. And as Jeff mentioned, with that Thunderbolt 3 protocol, you always know what you're getting with Thunderbolt 3. You always know what's coming across that cable. The confusion out there is real. I speak to customers day in and day out that when they're looking for a solution, they need some sort of a docking station. They don't know what type of connections their devices have. They need help trying to understand that. So when you look at the wide open specification of a USB-C, it gets confusing, and it's not uncommon for a customer to bring in a solution, try it out, and then all of a sudden it's a problem with the device that they're connecting. It's not the laptop, it's always the problem with the docking station. So it lends to frustration and really trying to streamline it, everything that it shouldn't be. So by working on the Thunderbolt 3 protocol, coming back to having everything built into one single connection, you know what you're getting consistently, and it allows you to deploy a solid solution across the board for your hardware.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that about confusion, because we did a study with 450 IT professionals across various industries and organizations to kind of see what changes are happening in the market. And we found that the #1 concern to IT buyers, even of the price, is compatibility, right? Excuse me. But like I said, I had a Dell before this. Now I have a MacBook. I know the person next to me has another device, right? So would you say that, again, like compatibility is the biggest challenge with people shifting from USB-A or from USB-C to Thunderbolt 3? Is that correct?
Compatibility is definitely key. When you think about it, not only from a connectivity standpoint, there's also other things in play. When you look at an organization, most offices, most companies at any given time really only have about 80% of their workforce in the office. So by having that lower number, there can be an impact on real estate teams that would affect the size of space that an organization really needs to have to support their employees. So what we're seeing is this trend of companies moving into a hot desking, a hoteling style environment, an open seating area, where having a setup or a configuration is important, because it allows anybody to sit there that can connect their devices into their peripherals or into that set of peripherals for their productivity. From an IT manager standpoint, when they sit back and look at this, though, they see that their organization has a variety of different laptops that they have deployed. So how are they able to provide a single solution that will support all of them? And that's really where the Thunderbolt 3 specification comes in, because it doesn't matter which laptop they've deployed. It could be any brand, it could be any model. As long as it has Thunderbolt 3, they know when they configure that workstation that they are going to be able to connect into those devices.
Yeah, I mean, I do hoteling in my own house. So I mean, I go to work, I have my work laptop, I come home, I have my Kensington dock sitting on my desk, I plug it in, and I have 2 monitors, my keyboard, my mouse, my wireless headset, all those things come to life. All I did was plug in a single cable. My wife actually has a different laptop than I do. And so when I'm gone, she can sit down at the same desk, plug in the same cable, and everything lights back up. Different brands of laptops, same dock, same solution. We don't have to switch anything or move things around. It's just a single Thunderbolt cable. You plug it in and everything's plugged into that dock, and it works seamlessly.
Yeah. I mean, you're completely right with the fact that, you know, there are more mobile workers, people are using WeWork, they're traveling everywhere, right? We even found that, you know, 50% of computers are mobile computing devices, right? So this is a trend that we've been seeing, and Thunderbolt really, you know, helps to make that easier. Another question I have is, with that, we also found that in 2019, unit volume for universal docking stations have surpassed traditional mechanical docking stations in the B2B market. I'd love to get your insight on what do you think that means for mechanical docks and USB 3.0?
Yeah, certainly. So we've definitely hit that inflection point. USB-A technology is really a dying technology. The docking stations that are using USB-A connectivity, they're limited in what they can do, transfer speeds, the functionality of those ports. So with USB-C and then even the Thunderbolt 3 superset, having that technology has really advanced those devices. So Thunderbolt 3 has really grown by leaps and bounds, and we're finding that on so many more devices these days than what we were just a year ago. USB-A technology, it's still relevant for some of those older legacy machines, but it's definitely a dwindling technology. I think with the Thunderbolt 3 solution having having that functionality, again, knowing what you're getting from that cable and the universal compatibility across manufacturers is really becoming more and more prevalent, more important these days.
Yeah, I mean, from our standpoint, you know, storage was always the #1 Thunderbolt peripheral device, just because it could take advantage of the huge bandwidth. And so when we first launched with Thunderbolt, that you saw a lot of storage devices, you know, 12 bay storage all the way to small handheld storage. Now the fastest growing device is actually a dock. So we have more docks in the market than anything else, because IT professionals, consumers at home, you know, they see that the dock is, everything is plugged in. It's so easy, it's so convenient, it's so flexible. We will soon see docks actually passing in raw numbers, also storage products, because people do, the value is real. They see it. It's not a hard sell to switch to a single cable dock.
On your home hotel station, Jeff, we have a question.
Sure.
Does Kensington, directed to you, but does Kensington have a dock that will support both Windows and Apple machines through the same single dock?
Yes. Yeah, that's we actually go through our certification process on the Thunderbolt side, and we require it to be both Windows and Mac certified.
Great. I know we do have another question about Pro Concierge, right? So for you, Matt, really the person who leads it, they asked, how does the Pro Concierge program work? And will the customer/prospect be tracked to the dealer?
Yeah, certainly. So under our Pro Concierge program, really the premise of the program is to take the guesswork out of selecting the right docking station for hardware. So what we ask are a couple simple questions. We want to know what make and model laptops customer has deployed in their environment or what they intend to deploy. We also want to know about their monitors, because monitor connectivity, there's so many different connectors for displays. We want to make sure that we know what the customer will be connecting to the docking station. Those things are really crucial to determining the right dock for the customer's environment. And from there, we can put together a custom tailored package that contains the docking station. We'll include the necessary video adapters, so that way they have everything they need in one box. to successfully test the docking station. And we definitely love our referrals when they come back through. So one of the pieces when we do sign up a customer for Pro Concierge is we want to know who referred them in. That helps to ensure that we can drive that information back to that reseller partner, that account manager. We'll keep them updated on the testing and how things are progressing with that. If the customer encounters any issues, we want to keep them fully in the loop. And then, of course, as opportunities develop, we want to be able to drive that back to the right partner. So all in all, the Pro Concierge program has been a really great program to help customers get a better understanding and idea as to what the different technologies do and how it can help to simplify that IT manager's life.
Mm-hmm. And we have found, and I've gotten feedback on the program from partners that aren't really familiar with docking stations and that are familiar with docking stations, and they both find it very useful to plug and chug their customers that are interested but don't know exactly what, for us to kind of do the heavy lifting, and then so it's easier on the rep to get more familiar with docs and then start selling more in their portfolio, and also as a deal registration tool for partners, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really great for partners and not only customers, and we do reward partners for every referral that they do, and they're part of the process the whole time. So that's some insight on the partner side. All right. With that, I did have a question on your use cases for the Pro Concierge. Like, I wanted to know, there are lots of trends, right? We see that Thunderbolt 3 is growing. We see a decrease in mechanical docks and USB 3.0. Have you seen that from the customers that have, submitted their info to Pro Concierge, that there's been a surge in Thunderbolt and a decrease in USB 3.0?
Yes, certainly. With Thunderbolt 3 becoming more and more readily available through newer hardware, as customers are refreshing this old legacy or their old legacy devices, the probability of them having a Thunderbolt 3 connection on their laptop is very high. And whenever we have that opportunity come through to us, we always want to showcase the Thunderbolt 3 technology. Again, they've made an investment in this technology. They want to be able to take advantage of that. And in some cases, it's an educational piece to show them exactly what they can do. And when they have the accessories, the docking station specifically that can support it, they can see just how important it is to support that environment or have that built up in their environment. So we do still get a smattering of older legacy devices. We do still see some areas where older type A laptops are still in circulation. A lot of those tend to be more in the federal government space. But I think that across the board, just in pretty much every vertical, we see that Thunderbolt 3 solution being deployed more and more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can just add to the frequently topic. So just at a raw count, I mean, we do obviously a count of all of our Thunderbolt products. PC wise, not counting Macs, because Apple was a launch partner with Thunderbolt, so they were there from day one. Mm-hmm. But from the Windows PC based side, we have over 550 Windows based PCs that are certified with Thunderbolt 3. Mm-hmm. That's only going to continue to grow. We just launched our first processor. The code name was Ice Lake. It has integrated Thunderbolt. So when we integrate a technology, it means that it's cheaper, it's more widely available, it's validated and tested. All those things are built into the processor. So you're going to see Thunderbolt not just at the high end to mainstream. You're going to see Thunderbolt on the PC side now down into the mainstream and value, because it is so readily available. As we continue in 2020 and we launch more processors, those will be integrated. So it's just going to continue. Thunderbolt has won. I mean, it is the standard moving forward. You'll continue to see that more and more and more as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. Also, another very common question I think that we get all the time, somebody submitted, was, does USB-C and Thunderbolt 3 both have the same size head jack? And can we use Thunderbolt 3 in place of USB-C?
Yeah, so let me back to what is USB-C. USB-C is the connector and the spec. And so the connector, the form factor of the connector, meaning that I have a connector that is reversible and flippable. I can plug in that cable any direction, any way I want. It's the same thing. That is the USB-C connector. What is behind that connector is completely different. So the USB-C spec, again, is very optional. So when I hear the term, I have a USB-C whatever X, that doesn't mean anything to me because the spec is so wide open. Again, you can have, that could mean I'm supporting USB 2 at 480 megabits per second, or I'm supporting a Thunderbolt at 40 gigabits per second. So, and anywhere in between. USB-C just means it's the form factor of the connector that we're using. That's why we say with Thunderbolt, it's the USB-C that does it all, or it's the best USB-C, because we support all of those protocols. We're the umbrella or the superset standard behind the USB-C connector. So they're the same connector. You can't mix and match, because if you had a Thunderbolt product and you're expecting a certain level of performance and you plug it into a USB only PC, you're going to get either it won't work because it's USB, or it's going to work at a much lower speed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Another question that we did talk a lot about on a little bit, so we talked about the customer, solving pain points for the customer. More so my question is, what about the IT person that is getting ready to deploy docking stations in their organization? What kind of benefits or perks can they get from deploying Thunderbolt 3?
Yeah, sure. So deploying a Thunderbolt 3 solution really helps to streamline the docking station that an organization would need. Again, knowing no boundaries based on manufacturer, having that Thunderbolt 3 solution offers you one single solution to deploy around your organization. That means an IT manager doesn't have to worry about what they're connecting into their device. They know that having that Thunderbolt 3 protocol on their host device as well as on their docking station, they're getting the same thing regardless of if it's a MacBook Pro, if it is a Windows-based PC with the Thunderbolt 3 connectivity. It stays constant. So they don't have to worry about deploying multiple docking stations depending on what manufacturer brand laptop an employee has. I think on average an organization supports 4 different devices or 4 different models of devices. So having that variety can mean a variety of different peripherals are needed as well, specific to that model. Thunderbolt 3 eliminates that. It gives you that single cable solution that will provide your power delivery to keep your laptop charged. It provides that connectivity into your monitors and your accessories. So the IT person can go focus their efforts and their energy on more pressing issues, more the other areas that they don't need to worry about, or so they don't need to worry about the user base specifically.
So with Thunderbolt 3, there's some confusion on kind of what USB-C, well, docs that say that they're backwards compatible with USB-C and not compatible. Like, what is the difference? And can you break that down, Jeff?
Sure. Yeah. So without getting too technical, if you have Thunderbolt on the PC, that means you have the superset. Whatever peripheral device I plug in, Thunderbolt is going to support it. If you plug in a USB device, the Thunderbolt chip actually then sends USB out to that connector. You plug in a display port, it sends display port. So whatever device you plug in, it's going to work. From the device side, or the peripheral device side, if I had a Thunderbolt device, I had to plug it into a Thunderbolt-based PC, because the chip on the device was saying, I can only accept Thunderbolt coming into me. With the latest version of Thunderbolt and the new Kensington docks that have this latest version, I can now turn my device, my dock, because we call it our universal dock and display chip. I can turn that dock into the universal product, meaning I can plug that dock into a Thunderbolt PC. I get Thunderbolt, I work just like normal, my performance is great. I can also take that same Kensington dock and I can plug it into a USB DisplayPort PC, and everything that's based off of USB and DisplayPort now lights up and works because I can now take that technology in as well. So like Matt was saying, it allows me to sell one dock into an entire IT group that has several different, not only brands, but types of PCs. Some are Thunderbolt, some are non-Thunderbolt, and my dock is still going to work.
Yeah, the cross compatibility is really, I think, beneficial because it helps to streamline this even more. It helps to eliminate more of the confusion that it seems to surround the USB-C technology. By having this cross compatibility between USB-C and Thunderbolt 3, just as an example, with the RST50-500T Thunderbolt 3 docking station, you can connect this to a MacBook Pro, which uses Thunderbolt 3 technology. That user could step away from their desk. Somebody could come along with a device as simple as a Surface Go and plug that into the same docking station, have that same access to those peripherals, those accessories that they have connected to that docking station. And granted, it's going to work at a slower speed. It doesn't have that same technology as the Thunderbolt 3 set does, but it still provides that cross compatibility between those devices. So eliminating that confusion again is something that the chipset allows for to help make that IT manager's life just that much more easier. It really simplifies that standard.
Yeah, great explanation. Another interesting question, which actually combines two of our category lines, which is biometric authentication and also docking station, right? So it's kind of two-pronged. So the first one, I'll direct to you, Matt. It says, with the push to make USB-C connectors more prevalent, will we start seeing security keys like YubiKeys or our Verimark IT, which are fingerprint authentication keys, come out for USB-C connector? And also, more so pointed to you, Jeff, and if so, will Thunderbolt benefit from this type of security and or open more doors for this type of security?
So I think from a security standpoint on the fingerprint readers, that there's a variety of different avenues that our teams are looking into, different ways to incorporate that technology. So definitely with the proliferation of USB-C and Thunderbolt 3 technology, I think that those key readers, we will see some advancements into that to move away from the A platform into a USB-C and Thunderbolt 3 configuration. But I think that from a connectivity standpoint, USB-A connections are still going to be relevant. It's going to become more of just the mouse and keyboard standard. What we used to see with PS2 configurations and the old serial connections for accessories. So USB-A, in some senses, I think it will take that place. So there will still always be a need for that. But again, trying to plug in something like a fingerprint reader or the Verimark readers, laptops moving away from having those USB-A connections to USB-C, I expect that we will see some changes come to that down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just from a security standpoint, if we're focused on security, we haven't incorporated fingerprint scanners into Thunderbolt. We're actually moving our security more to it's called a kernel DMA protection, which is also operating system based. Basically, Thunderbolt is PCIe based, which can get access into the DMA, but with the new security in Windows, it only gives the peripheral device access to the portion of the DMA that has been allocated to them, so that it prohibits you from actually plugging in an unauthorized device and then getting access to system memory or the other things like that are not allowed. Basically, the operating system says your device A, you get access to this memory, and that's all that you can get. So, and then we have hardware security built into our chip as well, that the chip on the device has to match what the chip on the PC says that you are. So if you try to spoof the device, create some kind of a clone device, especially in the hoteling environment where I might not know what's plugged in behind a dock, it will inform you that hey, this is a different product than what you had originally plugged in. What do you want to do with it? So we do actually have several levels of security, as well as the new security that we're working on with Microsoft. That's actually in the market today with Windows 10.
Yeah. We also have some information of a deeper breakdown on the dock in the handout section as well, if you're looking for more, detailed specs and data sheet aspect of the docking station. All right. So with Thunderbolt 3 docks, I want to do speed round with you guys. All right. Again, I feel like you answered a lot of these questions, right? Is it ideal to use in a shared workspace? I mean, Jeff, with your example, I would say
absolutely.
very much so, right?
Sure.
Can Thunderbolt 3 drive 3 external displays?
So no. The Thunderbolt chip takes 2. Well, so that's a loaded question. It takes 2 DisplayPort streams. If you have an MST in the dock or on a hub, then you can actually, an MST is a multi-stream transport chip, which will split that stream. So let's say that I had 2 DP 1.4 streams. I could split one of those into 2 DP 1.2, and then I could support more monitors. So it's kind of a complicated question. Thunderbolt supports 2 full DP streams, 2 4K 60 hertz or a 5K at 60 hertz, or you can split the stream and support more monitors.
Great. Well, we answered that question. Well, actually, no. Is Thunderbolt 3 backwards compatible with older versions of Thunderbolt?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Why are Thunderbolt 3 cables so short?
Yeah, good question. So we have.
I mean, I myself, I had that question for the longest time,
question.
And I thought that, I keep on
All
getting
the
these
time.
cables, so maybe this is the only size I can get. Maybe.
No, so you have actually we have anywhere from 0.2 meters to 2 meters out in the market. After 2 meters, because it's a 40 gig pipe, that's a lot of data traveling over a high speed. After 2 meters, we have to go to optical cables. For Thunderbolt 2, we had 60 meter optical cables in the market. For Thunderbolt 3, the need wasn't great, and so we don't have them. There are a couple companies that want to do them, and they will probably be out. My guess is 2020. I don't think they're going to be out in 2019, but they'll be up to 60 meters in length.
And I think from our customer standpoint, a lot of times what we see is that customers they need a little bit extra length to it, but the trade-off is cost, because those longer cables do become pricey. So could a longer cable be included with a docking station, or could they purchase an additional longer length cable? Certainly, they are out on the market, as Jeff mentioned. A 2 meter cable would definitely suffice in most cases, but it does come as an added expense. So how do you get the best of both worlds to make sure you have a cost competitive product, such as a docking station, versus having that longer length? So, Kensington docking stations have a really unique feature that allow them to be mounted up onto the back of a monitor. By mounting it up onto the back of a monitor, it gives you that 0 footprint configuration, but that cable would be able to come down and connect right into the laptop. So that way you help to keep that up off of the desk, but still have the connectivity right where you need it. So just an option. We've seen many customers successfully mount those to the back of their displays to help keep that environment nice and clean.
Just so you guys know, only 2 more questions. With one of them being, is there any upcoming changes, or I know you talked about the new integration with CPU with Thunderbolt. Is there anything new, any changes that we can see in 2020 or in Q4 this year that you guys relating to Thunderbolt?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a roadmap for Thunderbolt moving forward. We can't talk about the roadmap yet. We're not ready to come out, but you can just think of it as, okay, we moved from Thunderbolt at 10 gig, we moved Thunderbolt 2 at 20 gig, we had Thunderbolt 3 at 40 gig. We're looking at what's next. How do we get faster? How do we get to 80 gig? Do we go to 120 gig? It's there, and you can always say, well, why do you need to get that fast? Video is huge. You have 8K and 5K. That's a lot of data. And so we need to continue to increase, and then all the other standards out there as well. But we just want to continue to bump those up and increase those. So without going into details, that's we'll continue to move our roadmap bigger and support the latest technologies.
Again, like just wrapping up with 3 takeaways from each of you guys. For Matt, like what are the 3 key things that somebody talking to an IT buyer getting ready to deploy Thunderbolt 3 docks should ask them so they can really help configure it to their perfect and unique workspace?
Yeah, certainly. So I think it kind of goes back to our what we do for our Concierge program. We want to know what laptops the customer has deployed or what they intend to deploy if they're working on a refresh.
Mm-hmm.
We want to know what monitors they have connected. Do they need 4K resolution support? Are they connecting a single display? Are they connecting dual displays? Or maybe they need more. So we want to know more about that environment from them. Once we know the environment and what the end goal is for that customer, then we can help to determine a docking station from there. But knowing what is being connected is going to help eliminate some of those pain points from just saying, oh, here's a USB-C dock, you have USB-C technology, so this must work. We've talked about it time and again throughout this past 45 minutes here that with the confusion that's out there, it's not as simple as that. So knowing the environment is definitely important to making that right recommendation.
Mm-hmm. And with Jeff, what are 3 key takeaways to help them avoid the confusion, things that they need to know about Thunderbolt?
Yeah, I would say make sure if you see the little lightning bolt, then you have a Thunderbolt product. Mm-hmm. Everything that gets Thunderbolt certified has that mark on it, and so if it doesn't have it, it's not Thunderbolt. I think the things are performance. If you want to future-proof your IT shop, you use a Thunderbolt product because it's has the bandwidth, it has the performance, it has the flexibility and the compatibility that you need. So I guess those were 4 things, but those are 4, not 3.
Right. And I hope you guys found some useful things to take away. All right, thanks.
Thank you.